Welcome to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast, where midlife meets growth, purpose, and connection. A place where midlife is not something to survive, but a season to thrive. Here, we're building a welcoming community of people who are right in the middle of life, sharing our stories, learning from one another, and discovering just how meaningful and powerful this season can be. Together, we'll explore the topics that shape midlife, relationships, transitions, health, parenting, careers, and the inner work that helps us thrive. My goal is to encourage you, uplift you, and remind you that midlife can be vibrant, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. My hope is that you'll feel seen, supported, and inspired to live fully, grow bravely, and embrace the person you're becoming. I'm so glad you're here. Let's navigate midlife together on the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast. Welcome back to the Marvelous Middle Age Podcast. I'm so glad you're here today. I'm your host, Nicole, and this week we're continuing our Enneagram and Relationships series, where we're exploring how each Enneagram type shows up in personal and professional relationships and how understanding one another better can lead to deeper connection, healthier communication, and more grace for ourselves and others. I'm a certified Enneagram coach and had the honor to learn and study with Beth McCord, founder of Your Enneagram Coach. The Enneagram is about compassion, understanding, and creating healthier connections, especially in this midlife season where relationships matter deeply and energy is more precious than ever. My hope is that it brings clarity, compassion, and some very practical ways to strengthen your relationships. This week, we're focusing on the Enneagram 3, the achiever or the performer, and how 3s show up in relationships, what they long for beneath the surface, and how we can better connect with them in healthy, meaningful ways. If you're listening, you may be an Enneagram 3, or you may love, lead, or work with one. And chances are you've experienced both the incredible strengths and the quiet struggles that come with this type. If you're new to the Enneagram or want to learn more, check out Season 7, Episode 1 of the podcast, where I give a more in-depth overview of the Enneagram. If you want to determine your type, there's a link in the show notes for a free assessment you can take, which will help you to determine your type. Enneagram 3s are often described as driven, capable, adaptable, and success-oriented. 3s are natural achievers. They know how to read a room, rise to expectations, and get things done. They're often admired for their confidence, productivity, and leadership, and many 3s have been praised for their accomplishments from a very young age. At their best, 3s are motivating, energetic, encouraging, highly competent, and vision-oriented. They often bring momentum and clarity to relationships and teams. But beneath all of that drive is a deep longing to be valued not just for what they do, but for who they are. At their core, 3s fear being worthless, unsuccessful, or unseen. Their deepest desire is to feel valuable and admired, to know their life matters. Their core longing is to hear you are loved for simply being you. This often leads 3s to shape themselves around what they believe will be rewarded or celebrated. Over time, that can create a subtle disconnect between who they are and who they feel they need to be. In relationships, this can look like performance replacing presence. If you look at a diagram of the Enneagram, it's a circle, and each type has another type on either side. Every Enneagram type is influenced by its neighboring numbers, known as wings. Wings are the seasoning to your type. They add dimension and more layers to your personality. For 3s, those are type 2 and type 4. A 3 with a 2 wing tends to be more relational, encouraging, and people-focused. They may pour their drive into helping and supporting others, sometimes at the expense of their own needs. A 3 with a 4 wing is often more introspective, creative, and emotionally aware. They may wrestle more deeply with identity and authenticity. On the diagram of the Enneagram, you may notice each number has an arrow pointing away from it and an arrow pointing towards it. The arrow pointing away from the number is the type that a number goes to in stress. The arrow pointing towards the number is the type that a number goes to in growth. When 3s experience stress, they move toward the low side of type 9. This can look like disengagement, procrastination, numbing out, or losing motivation. The driven energy collapses inward, and they may feel disconnected or unmotivated. When threes are growing, they move towards the high side of a type 6. They become more grounded, loyal, collaborative, and present. Instead of proving themselves, they begin to trust others and share responsibility. Growth invites threes to rest and connection rather than constant accomplishment. If you've been listening to this season and finding yourself thinking, that sounds like me, or that explains someone I love, I want you to know you're not alone. The Enneagram is such a powerful tool for understanding ourselves and the people around us, not so that we can label or fix one another, but so we can meet ourselves and others with more compassion, patience, and grace. As a certified Enneagram coach, I work with individuals and teams who want to grow in self-awareness, strengthen their relationships, and navigate this season of life with more clarity and confidence. Whether you're exploring your own type, working through a transition, or part of a team wanting to communicate and collaborate more effectively, Enneagram coaching creates space to slow down, reflect, and grow together. If you feel a gentle nudge to go deeper, I'd love to connect with you. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Nicole Stute or email me at themarvelousmiddleagepodcast@gmail.com. There's no pressure, just a conversation. Because understanding ourselves changes the way we show up in the world, and that matters. And with that in mind, let's jump back into this week's episode. In relationships, threes often show love through providing, accomplishing, and showing up strong. They take pride in being a good partner, parent, friend, or leader. They want the relationships to reflect well on them, and they strive to avoid failure, conflict, or disappointment. Threes may sometimes ask themselves, sometimes unconsciously, am I valuable? Do I matter if I'm not successful? Will I still be loved if I slow down? They deeply desire connection, but they may struggle to stay emotionally present, especially if vulnerability feels inefficient, uncomfortable, or risky. In relationship, healthy threes are confident and encouraging. They're loyal and committed, motivating and inspiring. They're goal-oriented while still relational, and they're very intentional about showing up well. They often become the momentum builders in families, friendships, workplaces, and communities, bringing clarity, energy, and forward movement. But when stress enters the picture, or when threes feel unseen or undervalued, they may begin to overwork or overperform. They may prioritize productivity over presence. They may avoid vulnerability or difficult emotions. They might tie their worth to success or approval. And they might feel restless or disconnected in close relationships. Instead of slowing down to name what they're feeling, threes may push harder, believing achievement will bring the connection they're longing for. And when that doesn't happen, it can lead to emotional distance, burnout, or a quiet sense of emptiness, even in relationships that look successful from the outside. Here are a few common struggles that threes may encounter in relationships. Tying their identity to performance. Threes may feel most lovable when they're achieving, producing, or succeeding. Emotional avoidance. Feelings, especially messy or unproductive ones, may get sidelined in favor of action. Image management. Threes may struggle to show weakness, fearing it could change how others see them. Burnout and disconnection. When rest is ignored and emotions go unprocessed, relationships can begin to feel transactional or distant. These patterns don't mean threes don't care deeply. They often care immensely. They just haven't always learned how to slow down enough to stay connected to themselves. At their healthiest, threes thrive in relationships where they feel valued, not just for what they accomplish, but for who they are. When they feel accepted, even when they slow down or don't have it all together. When they feel it's safe to be authentic without pressure to perform or impress. And when they're encouraged to rest without guilt or losing fear of worth. Threes need to hear you are enough even when you're not producing. You don't have to prove yourself here. I want you, not just what you do. If you're in relationship with a three, here are some practical ways to support them. Affirm who they are, not just what they do. Name their character, not just their achievements. Invite emotional presence without pressure. Create safe spaces for feelings without demanding vulnerability. Encourage rest without guilt. Help them see that slowing down doesn't diminish their worth. Be honest and direct. Threes appreciate clarity and straightforward communication. Celebrate authenticity. Let them know they don't have to perform to be loved. If you're a 3, this is your invitation. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to be unfinished. Growth for 3s means learning to separate worth from productivity and identity from image. Ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? What am I feeling beneath the drive? What would it look like to be fully present instead of impressive? You don't have to earn belonging. You already belong. In midlife, this can be especially challenging and sacred for 3s. Success may look different now. Energy may shift. Old metrics may no longer satisfy. This season invites 3s to redefine achievement, not as outward success, but as inner alignment. Relationships become less about status and more about shared presence. It's an invitation to live from authenticity rather than approval. As we close today, I want to remind you, to the 3s listening, you are more than your resume, your productivity, or your results. And to those who love a 3, your presence and acceptance matter more than your praise. If this episode resonated, I invite you to reflect on it, share it, or pass it along to someone who might need it. Until next time, keep choosing connection, keep honoring who you are beneath what you do, and keep becoming more fully yourself right where you are. Thank you so much for being part of the Marvelous Middle-Aged Podcast community. I'd love for you to follow the show so new episodes land right in your feed. I'd be so grateful if you left a rating and a 5-star review on the podcast platform you listen on. It's a simple way to help others find the podcast. And if there's a topic you'd love to hear more about, I'd truly love to hear from you. You can email me at themarvelousmiddleagepodcast@gmail.com or send me a DM on Instagram @NicoleStew. Thank you for listening, for showing up, and for choosing to thrive in this season of life.